So again, I'm going to warn everybody right now. We are at a historic crossroads. Remember, just 3 weeks ago, oh, it's not true. They're not going to use the army on the streets of America and the rest of American citizens. And Obama's going to veto. Then they said, okay, it is in there, but don't worry, Obama's going to veto it, the ACLU said. And I said, here's his letters to Congress. They're in the congressional record saying that he wants the pure power himself. And they changed it and gave it to him. And he says he's going to sign it. Said he'd sign it Thursday, hadn't signed it yet. He uses that unconstitutional robot signer, that robo-signer, just like the big banks do to take your house that they don't own. And remember, 10 years ago, I was a conspiracy theorist, having insiders on tell you that. Now it's admitted. I mean, you better start listening to me. I don't watch football. I don't screw around with my hair all day. I don't run around acting trendy with my buddies and acting tough. I spend my time researching. I'm going to tell you again, I know what I'm talking about. You're in peril not listening to every word I tell you. And I'm talking to new listeners. We're all in peril. I'm not up here risking my life, my name, my treasure, my family, folks, because I don't think and know we can win. And losing to these people, a high-tech, eugenics-based population reduction, control freak system, that's not an option. If this was some boss hog corruption, business as usual, I wouldn't be so frantic. It'd be a problem. I'd say get involved in your government. That was 30, 40 years ago. We've got really virulent tyranny with a bunch of control freaks who've never lost and who are very arrogant and who want global domination and want us to pay for it and fight for it. And let me tell you, you see the fruits of the New World Order. It isn't good. You like it so far? If talk show hosts across this country and prominent media people would all just start rebelling and start telling the truth, because I know you're not stupid men and women. We turn this around very quickly. I know you get threatened with firing and the rest of it, but if you all start rebelling, and by the way, I put this call out more and more, I'm seeing it happen. I'm not going to name names, but I see it across the board. Good. Even if you're evil and corrupt, you know you don't have a seat at this table in the New World Order where it's going. Your own self-preservation says you've got to fight this. You know it in your gut. You know it intellectually. You know I'm right. So stand with humanity, stand with the people, and wake up. So first I go through this exercise of explaining, no, it really does affect citizens. Here's clips of senators and people saying it. Here's the text. Then, oh, Obama's going to save us. That was so people wouldn't lobby against it and stop it. I'm like, no, he's going to sign it. Now he says he's going to sign it. But in case you're a new listener, let me just play one of 4 or 5 clips that are at Infowars.com in the article, Presidential Frontrunner Warns Martial Law Being Established in America. The video of Ron Paul right there on our show breaking it down. And I have the clips of the other senators saying it there. But here is Senator Carl Levin, the author of the bill, telling another senator, hey, don't gripe at me. Obama asked for this. Okay? And no wonder people can't figure out politics. This is the deception. You've got to wallow through 4 or 5 layers of it every time. We're going to go to break and come back with this video. But, ladies and gentlemen, I knew their game plan. I know their plays so well, like it's football, that I said they just introduced this bill. They're going to claim it's not in there. Then they're going to claim, I said this 3 weeks ago, that Obama's going to veto it, but he's not going to veto it. And sure enough, now that they pass it, they go, yeah, it affects citizens. Yeah, the Army's going to start being on the streets. Well, of course they're going to start being on the streets. The bankers are all going to go to prison if they don't have a staged civil emergency and a takeover and ban free speech in this country. I mean, you got that? They're going for broke. They're all in. And I've been to the urban warfare drills where they've been training for it. I know that a lot of people feel powerless and they hear this type of news and they think, what do we do? You become aware of it. You learn how the global system works. You decide that being informed is important, and you realize that most media gives you different flavors of spin and bull. But more and more, because the private corporate world government is out in the open, they don't even deny it now. In fact, things are so bad, we're seeing horrified responses to what's happening from even powerful institutions. And I'm going to get to some of that in a moment. Look at these headlines. The Hill. Internet piracy bill, a free speech kill switch. Here's AP. Internet architects oppose U.S. online privacy bill. Another headline. This is the Chinese model of censorship. The father of the internet, and we're not talking about Al Gore, the real inventors. If the U.S. begins its use of central position in the network for censorship that advances its political and economic agenda, the consequences will be far-reaching and destructive. That's AP, AFP. NDAA bill aims to suppress internet freedom. Here's another one. Congress declares offensive war on the internet and NDAA. Listen to the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, which already has all four branches of the military, meaning the private contractors that run it. Section 954 of the NDAA, titled Military Activities in Cyberspace, received no debate in Congress as well as in the media. The section states clearly, quote, Congress affirms the Department of Defense has the capability and upon direction by the president may conduct offensive operations in cyberspace to defend our nation, allies, and interest. Offensive, preemptive. And you find out about what these generals have been saying for years. They call it sock puppets and megaphones. They've got fake programs already disseminating disinfo, engaging in domestic propaganda, and attacking websites and groups that don't agree with, quote, America's agenda. That means the Madoff banker types that run our country's agenda. And remember that. Remember that to simplify this, it's a bunch of Ken Lay, Bernie Madoff, John Corzine crooks, I mean, people even worse than them, that run this and are the ones setting this up. And they created 1.5 quadrillion, 1,500 trillion conservatively. Washington Post says 654 trillion of that is, quote, America's debt. Now, your own personal debt, government debt, everything combined is 14.5 trillion. They've got you convinced that you're going to be debtor slaves because of that. And meanwhile, there's 600 plus trillion they say we've signed onto because it's their debt. They create the derivatives, buy up the world through the fraud, the Ponzi scheme, but they don't go to jail. They just turn America and the rest of the world into a jail. They finance al-Qaeda to start overthrows of countries all over the Middle East, call it democracy as they stone and beat women, and tell you to give your rights up or al-Qaeda will get you when they get al-Qaeda on the airplanes that protect them. This is full spectrum dominance. These global bankers control al-Qaeda, and they use it to menace us so that we then give up our liberties. Be a little more sophisticated, okay, folks, if you're a new listener. Figure out why the bankers are able to take over. Can you figure that out? Can you figure out that Anwar al-Awlaki dined secretly at the Pentagon and got walking orders from the Pentagon brass, AP, Fox News? Can you figure out that we broke before it was even in congressional testimony from eyewitnesses that the U.S. government got the underwear Christmas Day bomber on the plane 2 years ago? For 2 months, that was not in the news. You heard it here first because the people that witnessed it are my listeners. And the media said they were full of baloney, and then it came out it was all true in congressional testimony. And the Congress said, let's just move on. The government got him on the plane. Let's just move on national security. You bet they did. To put those naked body scanners in so they can train you to be a good little slave. Now, here's the deal. I want to get into the internet situation and this global announcement to shut down free speech and how they're going to do it. As I've been telling you for a decade. How did I know? There's a consortium called Internet 2. They've met in Austin. They've met in London. They've met in Tokyo. It's made up of major corporations and big government institutions and universities, and they openly a decade ago. Well, actually, the first meeting I saw was in 2000, so 12 years ago almost. 11 plus years ago, they said how they were going to do the whole thing. And again, I'm absolutely right again, not because I'm smart. You know, when I learned that the enemy tells me exactly what they're going to do, be like if I was a football coach and the other coach walked over an hour before the game and said, here's my complete playbook and exactly how I'm going to run every play. Just want you to have it. And then at first I wouldn't trust them. But after I saw the first 5, 6 plays exactly as they said, I would start using that playbook. A menu. And I've got their entire playbook. The entire playbook's there for you. Even if you're some selfish little globalist wannabe, you know how successful you can be in life having their playbook, being into researching reality? Not living. I mean, I talk to business people, executives. Most of them are like children. They live in just a phony fantasy land, interfacing with all the disinfo they're given. There's very few people that pierce it. But once you've pierced it and studied the enemy, you know everything they're going to do. And that's what's frustrating. To know this, to know it's illegitimate, to know it's horrible where it's leading us. You think things are bad now, just wait. To watch them say we're not in a depression when they know full well it is. To watch the public trained to live off lies. To watch people being conned by it and being helpless because they're willfully ignorant. That's painful. Look at this headline. U.S. mayors decry rise in poverty, homelessness. And it says they ask the Fed. We're getting a record requests for food and shelter. Crimes exploding. But we've got, close to 50-something million people. What is it, 46.2 million people on food stamps. That's electronic soup kitchens. We need your help. Something's happening. Why do you say it's not a depression? The government's like, no, we had a recovery 3 years ago. Everything's fine. It's just such a lie. Like Fast and Furious, the government caught shipping the guns into Mexico, and 2 weeks ago, CBS News gets the documents, as if I needed them, because I have inside sources, I already knew, that it was to blame the Second Amendment. Of course it was a false flag. Of course it was staged terror. Of course. It's their #1 play. It's up the middle. Half their play is on that. That's all they run over and over and over and over again. I'm playing the real game of life. I'm not focused on Tebow losing right now. And I'm not saying you're bad if you're into that, but that doesn't affect you at the end of the day. It's a prosthesis for manhood. It is a fake appendage. It isn't real. You get in a male soap opera to what other men do in a simulated battle that doesn't matter while your entire Bill of Rights, Constitution, and your dollar is being destroyed. While torture and secret arrest and Chinese-style internet censorship is all publicly announced, everything we've warned you about, and I told you months ago it was all about to be announced, and now it is being announced because they're going into the worldwide implosion. They're going into the next hellish phase. And people are waking up, but not fast enough. Let's go to this short clip of the Senator Carl Levin going, hey, don't blame me for this affecting U.S. citizens, this NDAA bill and the end of posse comitatus. The president asked for this. Are you aware of that, Senator? The senator says, yes, I am. Here it is.
And I'm wondering whether the senator is familiar with the fact that the language which precluded the application of Section 1031 to American citizens was in the bill that we originally approved in the Armed Services Committee, and the administration asked us to remove the language which says that U.S. citizens and lawful residents would not be subject to this section. Is the senator familiar with the fact that it was the administration that asked us to remove the very language which we had in the bill which passed the committee, and that we removed it at the request of the administration that would have said that this determination would not apply to U.S. citizens and lawful residents? I'm just wondering, is the senator familiar with the fact that it was the administration which asked us to remove the very language, the absence of which is now objected to by the senator from Illinois?
I'm familiar now because the senator from Michigan has shared that fact with me.
Okay, that is the chairman of the Armed Services Committee. I've got 3 or 4 other senators saying the same thing who were co-sponsors, okay? So let's get it straight. It does affect U.S. citizens. You just bought the PSYOP. This is all a military handbook. As they assault you, they deny it's an assault. Then the president comes in and says he's going to veto it just so there's not opposition to it. And then as soon as they get the votes to pass it, he comes in and signs it. Okay? It's a fake handoff. Again, you want to use more football analogies? Okay? I mean, we don't have time to play games. They're getting ready to launch giant wars, and I'm telling you, I got their memos. They're public. I'll cover this when we come.